evening, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the first smoothhound hunt of 2023. I think it's the 30th of April today. Aye, so it's the last day of April, so it's arguably quite early, but there have been a few reports, haven't there?
Yeah, there's been a few fish caught, not in any great numbers because it's still quite early in the season really, but yeah, there's a few fish coming out, so you know, we've come down, we never know, so we're gonna have a go and see if we can get one.
Exactly, we've got some fresh crab, we've got some baits out already on pulley rigs, pulley pennels. We're chatting to one bloke when we're fishing the mark a few miles away from here earlier on today, and he'd had one hound, and Scary says there's been reports of a few others. I think some pretty decent fish actually.
Yeah, it's a couple of doubles. I know the down Morecambe Way, isn't it? There was somebody posted, and there was definitely definitely a double figure fish caught. So yeah, it's all promising stuff.
Yeah. So we're approaching high water. It's getting dusky. There's a bit of colour in the water, so we're hoping we've got the right ingredients to pull a fish or two out. So fingers crossed we can come back to you with something.
So I'm just going to run through what rig I'm using today. So the target species is smoothhounds. So the rig I've got here I've made specifically to target a smoothhound. Now it's basically just a pulley rig. So on the bottom I've got a 6-ounce gripper there. I've bent the wires over it so it'll dig in more. We're fishing over sand here. There's quite a good tide run here, so you do want something that'll dig in. Got a little imp on the bottom just to clip it down, make everything nice and neat. That's 70-pound main body. I've gone up to just a pulley bead with a barrel swivel, and then on a 40-pound amnesia. And on the business end, which is probably quite surprising since we're fishing for essentially a shark, but smoothhounds have got very, very small mouths, so I use quite small hooks for them. And all I do is I use a pennel setup, but like a knotless knot. So the hook set above, and it's very, very small setup. So when you're fishing for smoothhounds, I normally find you only really want a piece of crab. If you're going to use peeler crab, something about your size of your thumb. You don't want anything more than that. Like I say, they've got very small mouths. So all I do, that there is a 2/0 chinu, and on the top I've literally got just a size 1 chinu. But the specimen hooks, so that like they're a thick wire, so they're a strong hook. So all I do is I get my lump of crab and I just tie it up with a bit of thread, a bit of cotton elastic, and just make a bit of a sausage out of it. And then all I'll do is I'll just push it round the hook and get it on. Like so, and then just keep it on like that. Nice. You've got the top hook there on the pennel to grab it, and then obviously you've got the hook there on the bottom to get it also. And that's all you really want, really. Quite a small crab bait like that, and just thump it out as hard as you can, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get some smoothhounds.
Because we're both using braid today on fixed spools instead of mono, we've got the drags set quite light, and the reason for that is basically if we're all lucky enough to get a better fish, using braid where there's absolutely no give in the system other than your rod tip, you don't want to risk a big fish being able to just scream off with your gear. So a little bit of drag, it's still enough for the fish to grab the bait and set the hook, but it just means that you're not risking your gear going overboard. Plus, as it gets dark as well, obviously we forgot to tip lights, so it just means we'll hear it as well. If we're using mono, there's not really any need because you've got a lot of stretch in the system. If there's a bit of tide, you can just use the rod and the stretch and the mono to go forward if you do get a fish. But with braid, I just like have it a bit loose, and then I still like to have a little bit of give on the drag, just for any of those big lunges, because when you're using braid, you don't want to be in a position if a fish is only lightly hooked where you're accidentally pulling it out. Again, with mono, you just rely on the stretch and you probably wouldn't need to, so that's the theory, just need to put it into practice. So you might have noticed that Gary and I are using very small baits, and the reason for that is twofold really. Hounds have got pretty small mouths, and generally when they hit a bait they tend to just grab it and run. So if you've got plenty of hook showing, you don't need a big bait. Plus, with them being a shark species, they've got a really good sense of smell, so you don't need a massive bait. And of course it means if you do need a bit of distance, you can get it using a smaller bait. So that's, I mean, I've just lashed a third of a reasonable sized crab onto a previous bait, and that's probably on the large side actually. Baits I've been putting out so far have been a bit smaller than that, but we're running a little bit low on crabs, so I thought I might as well just try and bulk it up a little bit. It's turned into a cracking evening, and I think we deserved it because we braved some fairly awful conditions earlier on today. Lights dropping, got about 20 minutes of the flood left. There's loads of colour in the water. We're really hoping that we'll get our first hound. Just had a little inquiry on this rod. I'm fairly sure it'll be a dogfish based on the bite, but it is a bite nonetheless. Well, it's an absolutely cracking evening, and it makes a massive change to what it was earlier in the day when we were fishing the mark. I don't know, half an hour away from here. It was absolutely chucking it down, but while we're waiting for while we're waiting for what's hopefully going to be the first bite, we'll just show you a little bit of footage from a couple of fish that were caught earlier on today. Well, just found this little shrimp. So that is definitely going on. That's just one third of a fresh crab with a couple of legs on it, just to keep some of the scent in. All I'm doing, binding that up like that. I'm just going to cut the tail off that shrimp just to prevent any spinning in the air, and also I might just let out a little bit of scent. I might just give that a couple of, oh, just had a bit of, that's actually still a little bit of life in that. Either that or I've hit a nerve. So nick him on like that. So that's just a very short pulley, 4-0 on the bottom, 2-0 on the top. All I'm doing, 1, 2, 3 in the top. Oops. Very small baits for hounds. You don't need anything big at all. They're there, they'll just grab it and run. And what it means is if you need to, you can get a bit more distance. So a little bit of fresh crab, and a bit of shrimp. If that isn't matching the hatch, I don't know what is, but let's hope we can get one. That's just on a fairly short pulley, 6-ounce sinker, imp. No need for rotten bottoms. There's a bit of a drop off here, and you can get a little bit buried if you leave your gear out too long, but it's clean ground predominantly, so to get this out, hopefully get a fish on it. Just see the bite on that. Over that ledge. So David's into a fish here, hopefully it's a good hound. Ray. Hey, a fish is a fish. Settle for it. Oh, it's alright, Gary, I've got it. So, nice little male thorny. Gave us a reasonable bite actually. Not a big fish, but males in the ray family are always a lot more aggressive, and that one certainly was. So, but amazing little eyes. So, tell he's a male by the small claspers here. Pretty little fish, certainly welcome on a day like this. But turn of the tide, like oh, he's just had a right go up his finger there. He's aggressive, but anyway, we'll get him back. That was away.
bit like a smooth hound. It's got like a bit of a funny coat on.
Oh well. After getting excited, it was a hound. Little doggy.
Look at the size of its belly. Look at that. Look at the size of that. It's
Lovely markings on it, to be fair, but not the target species. Oh well, what a waste of a crab bait. Gary's just had what we think is probably the first definitive hound bite of the session. On this. If this is a fish, I'm very confused now.
something with them. I've had a couple of rays where they just sit on you like. It was definitely a rayish kind of bite, wasn't it? Like
yeah, it was, huh? There's a decent weight on this one.
It is flat.
Well, the rain has started again. I thought I might have had something half decent, but I've got a foul hooked little dab, so better than nothing, but not what I was hoping for. I think we're going to give it another chuck into the dark and just hope that the ebb maybe brings something, because it is starting to ebb now. So another chuck and see what happens. We're just going to hope this rain doesn't build, although it is looking pretty ominous. Well, unfortunately the day ended as it started, right as it got dark, howling wind, driving rain, so it was just a very swift exit. I was driving back from work just now and I thought, I haven't even done an outro for that video, so here it is. It's nice to get out somewhere a bit different, certainly a little bit warmer in the northeast, because we've just been having week after week of easterly wind, which is a bit of a nightmare, not doing anything any good. I've actually just come back from a week in Menorca last week, so it was a massive shock with the system. But anyway, so first attempt at the hounds, has to be said, was unsuccessful. It was 30th of April and it has been very cold. Looking for excuses obviously, so it was unsuccessful on that front. But if the objective of the day was to drive around northern England and burn a load of diesel, then it was probably a roaring success. So every cloud, eh? Anyway, we'll be out again very soon, so thanks for watching. Tight lines, keep fishing. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.